I mean, your clients are guaranteed.
Yeah.
You have tenants waiting for you.
Yeah.
What business can have that?
Correct. The problem is...
that's the thing.
Absolutely.
So it's there. It's on the platter. It's on a silver platter.
100%.
Now we need to supply. So I have the pleasure today to introduce you to Victor Menasce. He's straight from Ontario, actually the region of Ottawa,
Yes.
And a real estate investor, and also the host of the podcast, the Espresso. Real Estate
Espresso.
Real Estate Espresso Podcast. I love the name because we have Café PMML at PMML. So I think real estate and coffee, they go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And also the president of OREO, which is the Ottawa Real Estate Investors Organization. So it's a gathering of investors. It's a club of 400 people, you were saying?
Correct, yeah.
400, but mainly your main business is Y Street Capital, which is you do development, you're a development firm, so you do a multifamily storage, also a subdivision. And
subdivision, senior housing. Yeah.
And also in the U.S. and Canada. So that's interesting. You have across the border, so you have good experience.
Yes.
And now you're doing a project in Ottawa, you were saying?
We are.
Yeah, it's a big project, I think 107 units.
Yes.
So that's good. So we have an experienced person next to us here from Ottawa, and I really appreciate that you came all the way to our offices here in Montreal because yesterday there was a tornado.
That's
so
right.
I'm glad we scheduled today. So I'm glad you're here. So we wanted to talk a little bit, have a conversation about the Quebec market and the Ontario market. Obviously, we're very interested in Ontario, and we are setting up office over there very soon. But the housing crisis is on everybody's mind right now, and I think we were saying that it was coming. It was coming. It's not coming. We're in it.
It's here.
We're in it, and so we'll talk about that. So I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit and just talk a little bit about your experience, and then we'll just jump right in.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure. Well, great to be here, and I live in Ottawa. Been there for close to 30 years. Started my career in the tech industry, actually designing microprocessors. So I have an engineering background and spent much of my career in that space, all kinds of applications all over the world. I've got chips in the Patriot missile, I have chips in seatback displays on Airbus aircraft, and telecom systems and cellular base stations, all kinds of weird and wonderful applications. And about 2009, you might remember there was something going on in the United States in real estate. I made a hard left turn in my career and decided to move full-time into the world of real estate investing. At that moment, I was building a cellular network in Japan, traveling back and forth to Tokyo every 2 weeks, and decided it was time to do something different.
Every 2 weeks in Japan?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So it was a good time to make a transition, and it was an environment in which it was difficult to make mistakes in real estate, especially in the U.S. I made plenty, but the market wallpapered over those mistakes. And I learned, and today we're very active in development now in 9 different markets across the United States. Probably 90% of what we do is new construction, doing a little bit in Canada. We stayed away from Canada because Canada is a difficult place to develop. It's a difficult place to make the numbers work. And we only really jumped into the market here when it looked like things tipped over to the point where the numbers actually do work. Because it's a lot easier to develop in the United States than it is here in Canada. There's no question about that. But the market conditions are ripe today for adding new product, almost nationwide,
When did you come back to Canada, like a little more seriously?
We really started looking seriously at it in 2019.
2019, okay.
Because we saw the market conditions changing. We said, the numbers are actually starting to work. We see that systemic mismatch between demand and supply. And because it's difficult, if you can get over that hump, if you can get to the point where you can develop, now everyone else is still behind you trying to get through that gate. So it is a difficult environment, but once you get past that, it is a good market.
Well, we know there's a shortage on the market, and it's not recent. It's always been this way. We don't build enough, to suffice. And I think that, just before COVID, I remember it was a lot of, high rises, whether it was Montreal or the greater Montreal, even the same thing we were hearing in Ontario, it was mostly condos. And still in Toronto right now, they're building more condos and multifamily. So there's a problem there. They're renting them unit by unit, but they're, a purpose-built multifamily, not many in Toronto. Maybe in Ottawa more, but not in Toronto. Here in Montreal and Quebec, there was a shift, and I think it was a couple of years back, that they were not building condos anymore. It was multifamily, and thank goodness, but still, it's not enough. And there's the net migration is so positive. There's so many immigration. COVID, kind of like it slowed down here in Quebec for a very short while, but it moved back up. We're having 65,000 people coming in, and we're building between 5 to 15,000 a year, which is like not nearly enough.
Yeah.
And everybody's shouting, we need more, affordability, we need more units. And what's going on here in Quebec, we'll talk about that. I think everybody that's in real estate, what's going on. We'll talk about that. But in Ontario.
Yeah, so if we step back and just look at things from a demographic perspective, we're not making enough babies in the country to sustain population. Mm-hmm. Our fertility rate's 1.48. Our population should be shrinking. What is adding to population, like you said, is migration. We have a backlog of over 2 million coming in through the front door, through the immigration process. We have 560,000 quote-unquote visitor visas from the Ukraine. These are folks that are not technically refugees because they don't fit the technical definition. It's a 3-year visitor visa for those escaping the conflict. Only about 160,000 have arrived. So theoretically, there could be another 400,000 if they choose to come. Another 400,000 have already been granted. Where are they going to go? We have 300,000 by official numbers, Canadian citizens residing in Hong Kong. If they decide they don't like it there anymore and they come home, that's not immigration. Where are they going to go exactly? Yeah. Some of them already own a property here, that's fine, but it's not immigration. They're already Canadian citizens. They have the right to come home anytime. So there's a lot of even shadow demand that we're not even seeing that could materialize.
That's a good point. Yeah. But, let's say, in Ontario, what you're saying, because, the Statistics Canada, they were saying that we're expecting 500,000 people in 2020, for 85,000 in 2023 and 500,000 in 24. So it's like, let's say it's 1 million within the next 2 years.
We brought in 950,000 last year.
It's so many people. And so, I was at an event last night with promoters and developers, and we were talking, and we were saying, we're not building fast enough. Can we have some methods, or is there any way to build faster? And you were talking, it's not even the building, it's the permits, it's everything at the, before you even start building, there's so many hurdles to go over. So, in Quebec, it's the permits, it's cities, it's the, all the costs that chose the builders from the beginning. What is it in Ontario?
So, for example, the provincial government has imposed some regulations now that on the cities that say you have to meet certain timelines to get permits through the process, or you're going to have to refund development charges to the developers if you don't meet those timelines. That's an attempt to try and get the process, some of the bureaucracy, to speed up. The way the cities have responded is they said, okay, no problem. We're going to push all of the work that we would have done historically during the permitting phase, we're going to push that into the pre-consultation phase. So when your application is perfect, I's dotted, T's crossed, then we'll start the clock counting. So they're not really changing anything, they're just changing the way they measure, unfortunately. So it's sad because, we're seeing people trying to make a difference, trying to streamline the process, trying to eliminate bureaucracy, and yet the impedance is still there at the city level. The cities, unfortunately, are the problem still. They don't have the staff. They often have new people who don't even know the code. The code consultants are educating the staff on how to interpret the code. It's a very difficult situation, even on our own projects. We've gone now through 3 different planners on the same project.
3 planners on a project
In,
already?
3 planners from the city.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What can you do about that? As a build, what can you do? That's a thing. Everybody is having the same experience.
Right.
And I'm listening to you. I was with people last night,
Right.
and it's the same story over and over. So what can we do? Because actually it slows down. Plus, slowing down a process right now with the interest rates that keep going up. Mm-hmm. Whenever you make a project work on paper, and then by the time you get your permit, it's not working on paper anymore because the variables are so, they fluctuate so much.
We're seeing, for example, a lot of the cities are trying to put policy in place to encourage development in certain areas. Like, for example, the city of Ottawa spent a few $1 billion on a new light rail system, so they're trying to focus on intensification. One of the consequences of that, I said, we're not going to allow people to build estate homes on 2-acre lots anymore. There's a moratorium on that. So what are the developers doing? We're going 100 meters outside the boundary of the city of Ottawa, and that's where they're building. Okay. To avoid all of the bureaucracy. It's just a workaround. Now the city looks at it and says, well, these outlying areas don't have the infrastructure, so we're not going to worry about it. They can put the blinders on and just pretend like it's not happening. But yet all of the major builders are going just outside the boundary of the city of Ottawa because it's easier to build. They don't have the development charges. Because don't forget, development charges are a big number. It's a big percentage of your cost of construction. If you can make that go to 0 or to a much smaller number, it makes a difference in terms of the affordability.
And it melts the profit of the builder. I mean, builders are not volunteers. No. We want them to build affordable housing and, play with the circumstances, all the variables of the market right now. So that's, I don't think that nobody wants to cry over their situation, but at the same time, I think that the city is a partner, just like banks are partners of developers. I think that city needs probably see themselves as a partner in the development and the affordable housing that it needs to build. And sometimes I think that what we've observed here in Montreal. And there was one project that the city, when a builder, a very nice building, if you build, per apartment, it could cost $300,000 per apartment, and the city built it for $600,000 because they're not builders. Right. They're not builders. So
but it's even worse
mismanagement of the funds and of everything. So they don't know how to count. I really respect everybody that they're doing everything they can, but I think that maybe we should realign the purpose of everybody and also maybe connect whatever's going on in the cities, because they have so many departments, they don't probably even communicate well between each other. So everybody knows that, everybody feels that. I don't think I'm informing, this is not new information. But the quality of the question, maybe we have to have a quality answer. What can we do to help the cities? Because obviously they can't help us on the field.
I attended a meeting with the mayors and senior staff of 5 different communities that border the St. Lawrence Seaway. That's become a bit of a manufacturing corridor. Okay. We talk about nearshoring, or a lot of manufacturing is moving back to North America, some of it to Mexico, some of it to the St. Lawrence Seaway. We're seeing it, for example, in Bécancour battery factories and in Windsor and various other places. There's a lot of manufacturing coming back. The problem is there's no place for these folks to live. And so even when you talk to the manufacturers, they say, well, we're stealing from each other because we can't bring people into the market. It's not solving the problem. So, but those communities, those smaller communities along the St. Lawrence Seaway, Brockville, Belleville, Trenton, Kingston, they're all willing to roll out the red carpet and say, we're going to get you entitled within 2 weeks, 4 weeks. We're going to basically eliminate the red tape and just roll out the red carpet instead and get stuff built, because they too are feeling it very acutely. These used to be affordable communities. The rents per unit now are approaching, major city rents, and it's even pushing out the local people.
But that's the thing.
Right.
That's the thing. There's a pressure on prices everywhere. So the answer would be to build more. So how can we, what would be a solution, or what would be something that we could suggest? Because this is not a platform, this is not a political platform, but it feels like we're always at the mercy of the next election. So you have multiple municipalities So you've got multiple calendars of election.
Right.
So they have their agenda, election agenda. So they have to please people. And then they have to govern, they have a good governance of the funds, and they have to, and they're not coordinated. And sometimes it's like when you're working on a project, then after it's like, oh no, if it doesn't go through by this date, we're stuck because it's election time. So, and it's the same thing in Toronto. We just lived it through the last election.
Sure. The difficulty is that often a lot of politicians don't understand basic math. I mean, laws of supply and demand, to me, it's like a law of physics. It's like gravity. If you violate the laws of supply and demand, you're going to get hurt. You'll fall and you'll get hurt.
Yeah.
So the only thing, unless government wants to socialize housing completely and take over the whole business, and if they want to go nuts, have fun, take it on, unless they're prepared to do that, you have to follow the laws of supply and demand. You want prices to fall, increase supply. It's that simple.
Exactly.
It's that simple. And as a developer, why would I go through all the brain damage to try and build in Canada $350, $400, $450 a square foot when I can build single-family homes in Charlotte, North Carolina at $120 a square foot? I'm not tied. I don't have to build in Ottawa or Montreal or Toronto. Don't have to. I can go anywhere.
That's it. Your situation is different because you have that knowledge and you have that capacity. And it's great for you because you've grown into having that perspective, but
it's not just me. I mean, Minto was one of Ottawa's largest builders.
Yes,
they're in Florida. Why are they in Florida?
That's what scares me. A lot of people are looking into Florida right now because actually even people from here are moving to, it's the immigration of the baby boomers that are going back to Florida, or even some people that can work from home, or they're like more towards the end of their life, work life, that their kids are grown and they could just, finish their career abroad. But, the thing is that, when you're here and you see all these, I think the opportunity in Montreal, Ottawa, like Quebec and Ontario, I mean, it's a great business to be in. It's a great business to be in because you're guaranteed clientele.
Right.
I mean, your clients are guaranteed.
Yeah.
You have tenants waiting for you.
Yeah.
What business can have that?
Correct. The problem is...
that's the thing.
Absolutely.
So it's there. It's on the platter. It's on a silver platter.
100%.
Now we need to supply. So that's the thing. So the solution is, I think that we're looking into different. You were talking yesterday about also. I had quite a few conversations. It worries me because we're in Montreal or Ottawa. And we need more people to work on, in construction.
Right.
But they don't have the credentials, so we need them to get the credentials. Just the equivalencies and all that. Okay, great. And I look at Asia, that's booming. Look at emerging countries. They're not emerging anymore. I think they're pretty much.
They're there.
They're there. I mean, it's like, as North Americans, emerging countries. No, they're not emerging anymore. And we have gotten so comfortable. We are so comfortable. We do the bare minimum. We do whatever we want to do. And if it hurts, and it was like, the labor laws and this and that. And it's okay because we need to follow that. But at the same time, we're going to be swept under, the rug is going to be swept under our feet if we don't, within one generation. Technology is going so fast. We are having people doing our work not me, but a lot of companies here are doing our work, in Asia, North Africa. They're emerging. Money is going there. They're getting witty, smart, and they're hungry. And it doesn't look like we're hungry here anymore. It doesn't feel like we're hungry here anymore. The developers, promoters, people that are in business are. Many of the employees are. But the institution, the way the institutions are built, the way the systems are built, the ecosystem that governs the whole thing, it's not hungry anymore. And we have to be careful because the party's going on the other side of the ocean.
I think one of the things that Canada has going for it is, if you look at places to migrate to, there's a lot of migration in Europe happening. I mean, if you look at Germany, how many people they've absorbed in the last 2 years, it's a staggering number. It far outstrips anything that's happened here in Canada. And Germany's dealing with a very large amount of migration, and as are other European countries.
Yeah.
Those countries are also dealing with very low fertility rates. Parts of Italy, they're giving away houses because population is actually shrinking.
Yes, and they have 13-year tax break for any business owner.
That's right.
13-year tax break.
That's right. I know. So we have to become a little bit more focused.
Yes.
I think as a society. I think the opportunity for developers to add new product, I think there's a good opportunity with what people call the missing middle. So if you think about the single-family homes, the residential 1 to 4, in Ontario they've instituted something called an expansion of the accessory dwelling units. So you can build not only, for anything that's zoned R1, you can now build actually 2 accessory dwelling units, provided those are off the same utilities as the main house. Okay, it's not a discrete unit. You're not paying any additional development charges. It's still considered an R1 residential home, but it could be up to 3 units, in fact. So, that could be basement apartments. It could be a carriage house in the backyard. It could be a laneway apartment. There's lots of different things that can be done as a way of hopefully adding density and maybe trying to harness the larger ecosystem of folks that are looking not only to expand supply, but also to improve affordability. If you're looking to buy a single-family home in Toronto, that's a high number. But if you've got 2 apartments that are helping fund that, now it becomes a lot more affordable. So it maybe becomes a little bit of a win-win scenario.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. So let's go back to the basics. We have guaranteed clientele here.
Correct. Yeah.
Guaranteed clientele, and we need to take, we need to work on, to see how we can put some oil on the hinges of whatever is supposed to help us get to that point. So a lot of conversations are happening right now. I think that a lot of people are doing a lot of talking, and I honestly, I feel like maybe we're going to get through a breakthrough. Maybe we're going to need to hit a wall. Maybe we're going to have to refuse people, which is counterproductive because, Canada is a safe haven. It's so stable. I mean, you never see it on the news. It's like, okay, yesterday I had a simile tornado, which didn't really happen, but it was a little bit of flooding, but that's about it. So people still want to come here. Whatever we say around, we're a very neutral country. Right. So I think that we have so many things going for us right now. I think we should really take advantage of that.
I think the pathway to affordability it's not any secret. It's reducing footprints a little bit, because at the end of the day, if it's costing you $350, $400 per square foot to build, you've got to be looking at rents that are north of $3, $3.50 a square foot in order for the numbers to work. A lot of developers are even pushing $4 a square foot, really building very small units.
Well, that's out of style.
Right.
It's getting out of style. People can't, especially now that working from home, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Look, their numbers don't work if you don't do it, because now it's created a trend.
Right.
So, and your city is your living room? Not so much.
Right.
Because you do work at home sometimes.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the building that we're building in Ottawa is really designed to buck the trend, because a lot of the other developers are following that same path where they're saying smaller, smaller, smaller. If you're downsizing from a 5-bedroom house and you're going to go into bedrooms that are 8 foot by 9 foot where you can't even fit a dresser, you can't fit your own furniture, it's not the right product for you.
No, it's not.
And so a lot of folks are not selling because there's no place for them to go. But they really don't need a 5-bedroom house anymore. The kids have moved out, they've left college, they're off, they're married. 2 adults and a cat doesn't need a 5-bedroom house. It just doesn't. And so,
so funny. Yeah.
So there is housing available, but it's stranded because people that would naturally want to downsize are stuck. They like the neighborhoods they're in. There's neighborhoods here, even in Montreal, in the downtown, in the Plateau area and so on that frankly could be great for young families, but people aren't moving because they want to be able to walk to the restaurant and to the coffee shop and to the art gallery and all of that sort of thing. And if they sell, they have to leave because they can't buy back in.
That's exactly it. So listen, Victor, we can go on and on about that subject. I mean, I think that it takes people like you, as the president of REO, you have a good voice and you have, a really good experience. And I think that your group, full of investors. I mean, I've been, so I saw the quality of the people there, and it's a nice, it's a nice mastermind. People, network a lot. But your experience on the field is really very interesting, and I see you in different events. Also, I've seen you in different events, so you're very active. I think that we can tell people where to reach you, and also I think that we should follow up on the discussion maybe in different, like maybe at the end of we'll see where the interest goes. Today, timestamp, it's July 14th, so we just got another raise. But we'll see where it goes, and we'll see parallel to that what the conditions of the market, to start for the starts, how that goes, and is it going to speed up? And because the war in Ukraine put pressure on the prices of the chain of supply and all that, but that is something that we didn't talk about. Yes. We could talk about that for another hour, but we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll see each other in a few months and see how it goes. But I really, really appreciate our talk. We can go on for a long time.
Yes, yes, we can.
So thank you for listening, and thank you for following PMML.tv. And of course, we are real estate brokers, commercial real estate brokers. We do. We have buildings under contract, and we also have a mortgage division, commercial only also, and we do help our clients to reevaluate their portfolios, and we have so niche that we do have all the tools that you need to see maybe how to assess your portfolio and to maximize every asset that you have, or even acquire an asset. So thank you for listening. And where can we find you, Victor?
So maybe the best place to connect to start with is I'm the host of the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, the daily show 7 days a week. Now just broke episode 2000, so I've been doing this a little while. So I'd love to have you as a listener. That's a good way to start the conversation. You can reach me directly at victor@victorjm.com. And happy to connect with anyone, have a conversation, and go from there.
Thank you very much. And he's so consistent. 2000 episodes, 7 days a week. I mean, I don't even do that. So thank you so much, Victor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.